Hello, my name is Michelle Smith, and today I will be discussing food disparities, reasoning, and resulting health effects on Native Alaskan communities. Food disparities are because of limited access to food, interference by industries, as well as local and federal government laws and regulations implemented on Native Alaskan communities. Access to food is essential to maintaining survivability within a region. Remote locations, such as Alaska, are incredibly fierce to live in. Farming and hunting seasons have short time frames. The climate is cold and harsh, and due to the location, weather, and/or terrain, it is difficult to transport food and other commodities to the area. Alaskan natives have combated their regional challenges with traditional subsistence ways of living. Indigenous people would study the ecology of their land to predict the movement of wildlife and the onset of seasonal changes, to plan out hunting expeditions, food harvesting, and supply reserves. Alaskan tribe natives held traditional roles based on age, gender, and expertise. Men were at the front lines of hard, exhausting work by hunting, fishing, and building. Women would process what the men brought back, gather eggs and edible plants, as well as sew and craft needed items to use or sell. Native women provided a backbone to indigenous families, making sure everyone was clothed, fed, and well cared for. Subsistence is a spiritual process in which Native men and women would thankfully pray for their hunts, the animal sacrifices, their harvests, and utilize every bit of an animal, wood, or other natural material to make food and other useful commodities. As quoted by Art Singer and West, hunting, caribou, and whaling are the foundations for cultural identity for Native Alaskans. To me, this means subsistence was not only a way to provide nourishment, but also a way to express the Native Alaskan way of life. As colonization of Alaska took place, Native people's hunting and land rights were being taken from them, often under the guise of research, environmental protection, or oil production. Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, signed by President Nixon, was created to help the indigenous people win back legal rights to some of the lands they had occupied for generations. However, in exchange for the land rights, the federal and state governments gained control over hunting and fishing. Native people would often defy the law in order to feed their families, to feed their cultures, and to feed themselves. As quoted by Thornton, Alaska Department of Fish and Game studies show that rural subsistence only accounts for 4% of the total fish and wildlife harvest. This calls into question why such tensions are created over such a small amount of resources. Industrialization has led to vast amounts of contaminants, such as heavy metals, pesticides, nuclear waste, and oil spills. Food supply will inevitably absorb these foreign materials, spreading toxins throughout the food chain. These pollutants are shown to have negative consequences on natives' development, endocrine functions, and are even speculated to cause cancer. As quoted by Kunlun, pathways for delivery of contaminants into northern environments include atmospheric, marine, and freshwater/terrestrial routes. This is especially concerning because native Alaskan communities consume more marine life than the average mainland American. Native Alaskans also have a new battle with climate change. The Earth has experienced natural shifts in ecological patterns throughout its existence. Although there is some evidence to suggest the expansion of industrialization has enhanced or even sped up these changes. Some examples of which are significant changes in seasons, ice thinning, land erosion, and animal migrations. Food insecurity can lead to illness, psychological issues, and poor weight. The youth and pregnant women are at higher risk of poor health and development due to meals not always being well-rounded. On top of high mortality rates, Alaskan children face higher rates of childhood and adult obesity, poor dental condition, and a hindrance to milestone physical and cognitive developments. Many Alaskan households are turning to Western foods in hopes of supplementing nutrient intake. Traditional foods have higher nutritional value when compared to store-bought foods, which are often full of preservatives, sodiums, and sugars. This does not mean Native Alaskans have a balanced diet. Moderation is key to blending the two diets of traditional and Western foods. If not practiced, Native populations' health can be negatively impacted by increasing diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular issues. Again, the Native youth are more at risk to take on bad Western eating habits and are losing the traditional subsistence skills of gathering food. Social programs have been put into place to remedy the situation. Yet, it is hard to qualify, as well as hard to leave the tribe to go to Western-style markets due to weather, gas, and distance. Due to food being a commodity item, it competes with other purchasable needs such as healthcare and housing. High costs and inadequate financial aid can limit what and how much a Native family can purchase. Store-bought foods in Alaska are also up to 3 times as much compared to other goods sold in the nation due to the cost of production and transportation. Often, the food isn't enough for a whole family and lacks nutritional value to make the trips worth it. If local governments and Native tribes work in unison to reach compromises on hunting and land rights, as well as having social programs to provide more nutritional food options, then Native Alaskan communities have a chance of improving their health and holding on to their rich heritage. Collaboration between all parties can build mutual respect that not only rectify the inequity of Westernization, but focus on a positive future for the next generations. Here are some citations I used in my paper. I mostly used articles that were previously used in the course already, because I knew they were very reputable sources. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you learned a little bit more about food disparities, the reasonings, and resulting health effects on Native Alaskan communities.